I love stories, yeah, and I like to tell stories, and I like to try and make them real. I've lived here since 1979. I found this place by accident and decided to camp here. 30 years later, still here. But it feels like home. I was born in the west of Ireland. I felt like a drifter, a traveller. I left home because I didn't get along with my dad. And I got as far away as possible from family because of all the tragedies associated with my childhood. You know, when I hit my mid-40s, I decided, you know, this work that I'm doing is totally meaningless to me, you know, going out there and putting 3 bags on and making a bunch of money. Like, I started out my life wanting to make lots of money. I went and worked in the Arctic and ran big machinery and worked long shifts and saved money. But then when I got out in the world, it went really fast, so it was never not very effective. I went to San Francisco in 1969. Just blew the hole in my whole idea of what life is all about. It changed my life, yeah. And I ended up going to South America for a year, and then when I come back, I went as far north as I could go. That was to Dawson City, and there was something like I was getting away from, you know, that I never, back then I never thought I'd ever settle down, that I'd always be a traveller. And when I come here, kind of grew into the place, and my daughter was born here in the Kootenays, so that's probably the reason that it made it home for me. Yeah. And we went in the mountains a lot, and my daughter, she learned to count by counting the fish. I'd go out at 4:30 in the morning fishing, and I'd put her asleep in the bow of the boat, wake her up by tickling her nose with the tail. Tail of a fish. When I started growing food, I come to realize that this is really important, to feed my family and my friends and people around me. And you know, I've always kind of pushed myself, you know, pretty hard, and I've always believed in doing things by hand. That's why I have this thing for traditional ways, not just to say, well, that's the old way, you know. I mean, to me, that's often the good way. When I decided to make a living farming, I have to go back to my childhood and how I started. My father, he was a horseman, and I helped him when I was like 10 years old and stuff. I liked horses. I liked the idea of horse farming, and it's a clean way to do it, and it also takes a lot of skill. With a horse, you have to be polite. You have to ask them. You have to get their willingness and attention. Human intervention isn't always a bad thing. For me, that's a wonderful thing. And it's my daughter's favorite place is the swamp. She's a swamp hopper. If she meets somebody that she likes, she wants to see who they are. She takes them to the swamp to see if they make a good swamp hopper, you know. That swamp, it's man-made. I made it. But there was a bit of water in that low spot. It was like cedar swamp. Like in certain times of year, there was pools in there, and then just down below there was a little narrow place, and I decided I'd put a dike or dam in there, and that held the water back. And then the wild ducks started to come in, and then they would lay their eggs there and hatch out the babies. And with the wild ducks come cattails. People come into my life that I've worked with, they're my heroes. Yeah, we have to have our heroes, and we have to have see the good in humans, and that's the way I find the good in humans, the people I work with. I find out who they are and what they're made of. And we didn't change it up here, did we?
I thought we did.
Oh, we did, okay. And if people that come to work for me are not working for the heart, they're in the wrong place. This isn't something that you might play at, because I don't play at it, I got run over with my horses and smashed up, and I got up and I kept doing it. To me, life is do or die, and then you're living. When you're on the land and you're farming, your life is full, and I can go and work in the field, and it actually makes me feel stronger. The way I live isn't ideal. It has its drawbacks. It would be much better if I had my farm all in one place and I could look out on it and go out there and see my cattle every day, but I don't have that. So I make the best of what I do have. It's an enjoyable experience. Sometimes we have to go back and, take another trail, I'm not going to get old gracefully. I am going to, my favorite poem about getting old and going down hard is Dylan Thomas. His rage against the dying of the light. That you don't want to get old. You don't want to die. You're fighting, going down, and that's pretty much where I live, how I live my life. Someday I maybe decide that, hey, I've had enough. Like you're arm wrestling and you figure, well, I can't beat him and he can't beat me, so let's give up. So that's probably the way I'll go down.